You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
First of all, neighbors, I'd like to make a special shout out to HelloFresh for supporting the Paracast. Receive $30 off your first week of deliveries when you go to HelloFresh.com and use the offer code Paracast30. We're here ready to ask the hard questions of MUFON's Executive Director, Jan Harzan. He'll join us in a few minutes, but first, we're going to cover some other stuff. Now, Chris, you've been fighting colds ever since you decided to attend a couple of UFO events.
Yeah, it's airplane air. I'm going to have to start I'm going Japanese and wearing my dust masks and filters when I go on airplanes. It's really an issue. I'm very susceptible to picking up little bugs here and there and fighting them off. And if I have to get my HVAC guy in here and figure out where I'm living, the heat doesn't work. I woke up and it was in the 40s here this morning, which is not conducive for getting over colds and that sort of thing. I'm all bundled up in my hoodie and I've got a little heater trying to keep my feet warm right now. But it's all good. I'm sure we'll be able to figure all that out. In the meantime, just haven't really attempted to look into, what the electrical situation is with the thermostat and everything. There may be a battery that needs to be changed or something. I don't know. It's a new place. I've not really had the heat on. So, it's getting used to and acclimated to the electronics and the system here. So it's just something I got to do. But it's all good. Things are going good otherwise with me. But we'll have to reserve judgment. And I'm working on a California speaking tour for January. It looks like I've got 3 places lined up. And I'm working on possibly expanding it up to Oregon and Washington. And, of course, speaking in OC, this will be my 4th or 5th time going down to Jan Harzan's neck of the woods, and you say, we're going to be asking the hard questions. Yeah, we will be, but don't forget, Jan has helped us with the San Luis Valley Camera Project, and, Orange County OC has helped us. They've also had me down there to speak, and they're considering having me down there to speak again. So I'm gonna leave the the real hard questions to you, Gene, because I'll be perfectly honest here. I do obviously have quite a bit of problems with MUFON right now, I think, and we're going to obviously be discussing this. There are some real major issues that I take exception to. I think MUFON should let's put it this way. It's a very fine line between entertainment and the scientific investigation of the UFO phenomenon. It's a very fine line in this day and age, and I'm going to have to be extra careful, politically correct, and all those sorts of things with how I deal with some of these tough questions, Gene. I'm putting it out there. MUFON. It's not like they are funding the San Luis Valley Camera Project. They put in a few $100s, but I don't like to bite the hand that feeds me, so to speak, and is trying to move the process forward. And plus, they're inviting me down to speak there at MUFON OC, of course, where Jan has been a long time fixture. So, going to have to leave the bad cop.
Okay, the long and short of it is, Chris, let Jan hate me and not you. That's the way it is, right? Well,
no, I don't want Jan to hate anybody, Gene. I mean, if you're in this to have people hate you, I've got the wrong freaking co-host here, okay?
Well, you know what it is? In this field, people will hate you no matter what. I'll give you an example of that. We've had some reviews on YouTube for the recent Jacques Vallée appearance where you were talking about the San Luis Valley Project, and I just cut out one of the messages where somebody was saying, well, you're just in it to fundraise. And that was
that I am, right?
To raise funds for this project of yours, you were somehow roping in Vallée, which was preposterous because that is not what you were talking about during the episode.
No, not at all. And if I was only in this to fundraise, I would have had Kickstarter, GoFundMe, you funded programs coming out the wazoo years ago.
Well, you know something real interesting here. What is it? Tom DeLonge has had this fundraising project, To the Stars, whatever. And we haven't run the link, but some people have. I think he's up to like $1.5 million or $2 million now.
$2 million almost.
$2 million. Well, gosh. And that's pretty fast. You have to think here. How many projects raise that kind of capital unless it's for a retail product?
Yeah. It's just, there's a sucker born every minute. I'm sorry to say that, but all that money is going to offset losses in other ventures that he's already tried to do, which has been very well demonstrated with several very good posts that I've read online about how the whole thing is being set up in terms of a business structure and the corporate side. So I'm going to be very interested to see what kind of dividend is going to be produced for all this investment.
Well, with the assumption here that if you pay upwards of $200, that's the minimum.
Well, minimum of
right.
$200.
If you invest at least $200, wouldn't you expect to have some kind of return from it?
Well, it depends on how the Class B stock is set up, and there's a lot of SEC mandated ins and outs on this. I have been involved in some startups and know a little bit about this, not much, and there are variations depending on the type of startup it is. I would just assume that everybody, if they were even halfway intelligent, would not expect a dime of return on their investment if they're a small kind of $100 level, hundreds of dollar level investor. When you're starting to put in 4 or 5 figures, then I would hope that their level of sophistication would be enough so that they would not be investing in something that was just throwing their money away. I would hope a sophisticated investor, I think is the term that the SEC uses, would have enough smarts to fully look at the potential upside and downside of any sort of investment scenario. I don't see this as being a viable investment in any stretch of the imagination. I see a bunch of guys that are recently retired from the intelligence communities, aerospace, physics, that sort of thing, looking for a possible vehicle to attach themselves to maybe generate a little income in their retirement, and an absolute neophyte dupe who's sitting as the figurehead, who has, quote, read all the books, so he, quote, knows everything. Anybody that can make such an asinine statement as that and actually be taken seriously says volumes about the level of intelligence that we have in the ufological community out there. And I of course, our listeners are the exception to that. But it's a sad state of affairs. If anybody thinks Tom DeLonge has a snowball's chance in hell of producing anything worth value, anything worth furthering our knowledge about these wonderful subjects, I think you are an absolute fool if you buy into anything that this guy is promising.
Now, I should point out here something we mentioned with Kevin Randall, since he's written on the subject. It looks like at least some of the sources that Tom DeLonge claims to have are just the UFO books he's read.
The wrong UFO books he's read.
Right.
And look at some of the videos he's touting. I mean, obvious CGI hoaxes. Hello, people. Wake up. Hello. McFlies. Anybody in there?
We're going to have Jan Harzan, the Executive Director of MUFON, coming up. We'll also remind you that we're going to, as always, invite you to join the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com, where you get the After the Paracast podcast and lots more goodies. More goodies to come. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails t-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-774-3149 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-774-3149. Again, that's 800-774-3149.
Most people think life insurance pays after you're dead. That's true. But did you know you can have tax-free access to your life insurance while you're still alive? You can use the life benefits of your life insurance to grow your money with certainty and guarantees. No stock market risk, no tax risk, and no penalties. Call Life Benefits if you'd like a free book about how this can be done. Call 702-660-7000. That's 702-660-7000.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
This just in. Before your doctor gives you another antibiotic prescription that you don't want, get this free report, The Miracle of Garlic, your first home medicine. This free report is filled with easy kitchen remedies for common colds, flus, sore throats, ear infections, and more. Plus, learn to boost your immunity before you get sick. Go now to GCNwellness.com. Just like it sounds, GCNwellness.com to get your free report, The Miracle of Garlic. Click GCNwellness.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So I'm looking here, and I'm connecting on Skype with Jan Harzan. And what do I see? An avatar that looks remarkably like Ron James after being up for about 48 hours straight. And I'm wondering here, is Ron James shape-shifting to become Jan Harzan? Jan, tell us it's not so.
Gene, you're funny. No,
that's what most people don't agree with you on.
Yeah, that's an avatar left over from the 2017 symposium where we were trying to Skype in Gary McKinnon from England. Ron borrowed my computer and set it up, so I have to change the avatar back, I guess, huh?
I would recommend it. I don't want people to be frightened off.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right.
Take care right after this call.
Now, before we got started with you, we were talking briefly about this fundraising thing going on with Tom DeLonge. where this To the Stars project, he's raised like $2 million so far in just a few weeks. And you got to think, what's he doing that you're not doing?
I'm asking myself that same question, Gene. Pretty phenomenal. I think he's got some big money backers helping. I haven't looked through the actual how many donations and what size they are. But hey, my hat's off to him. I mean, boy, if you could raise $2 million in about a month, that's a pretty phenomenal thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I was mentioning to Gene before you came on, Jan, that anybody that's hoping for some sort of investment, return on investment, boy, I'll tell you, there's a sucker born every minute on this planet if that's the case, because I don't see a snowball's chance in hell of these folks, no matter how well intentioned and how grandiose the vision. I don't see anything coming out of this except maybe some bad sci-fi entertainment or something, which we'll talk about that whole subject here as we go on today. But I don't know. I'm just I'm not getting a good feeling about it.
Well, I think you need to separate the investment aspect of it from who's doing the talking, because the one thing we all want in ufology is for disclosure, right? I mean, we're all clamoring for the president of the United States or somebody of significance to step to a podium and lay it out to us at exactly what's going on. This may be as close as we get to a disclosure if you look at the caliber of the people who were on stage with Tom.
I understand here, not all of us, Jan, believe that disclosure is ever going to happen or that the government knows enough to disclose. I think here, if they don't have answers, they're not going to admit that, right?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I don't think our government has the knowledge to disclose. Whoever is working this behind the scenes has got it so well buried and so well hidden that even people working in the government, like Christopher Mellon. Chris contacted me about 2 years ago wanting to get involved with MUFON, and he and I chatted, and he's got a very deep background in working in Congress as a staffer for the Senate Minority, I think, leader for the Senate Intelligence Committee. He's worked with the Department of Defense. He's worked with intelligence. He knows quite a few people up there on the Hill. And his question to me, the reason he wanted to talk to me is he wanted to ask me the question, what are these triangles? And my answer back to him was very simple. I said, well, Chris, I was hoping you could tell me that, right? Because we think they're ours,
Yeah.
His answer to me was, well, they're not ours. They're somebody else's. So whose are they? And that's kind of a frightening thing. I mean, if the people who are talking to the highest levels of the NSA, the CIA, the military don't know what these things are, that's kind of a frightening thought.
But then you're assuming they do know what these things are.
I think somebody knows what these things are. I think our problem with this whole thing is it's so well compartmentalized that it's hidden from the guy standing in the room next to you doesn't know what you know, and you don't know what the guy in the other room knows. Right. And so we need to somehow bring this out into the light and begin discussing it. And I see that as kind of this TTS. If there's one thing that it can do is maybe get a conversation going with military people, intelligence people who aren't on the inside. I mean, there are obviously some. I believe there has to be some.
You're leaving out a major component, and that's the aerospace industry. The high-tech private sector. Well, I mean, that's where all these secrets are being buried. To me, it's obvious.
Chris, that's a good point. And one of the people on that panel was from the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. So I go back to my conversation some 34 years ago now with Ben Rich, where he said, we have the technology to take ET home. If it's been 34 years and we've had that technology, what have we done with it? I mean, we didn't sit on it. Somebody had to do something with it. So I think this could be the crack in the door to get disclosure, if not directly through the people who've already done it, is maybe to recreate it in the white world. So that's my hope. That's my, I think that's a possibility that could happen. Whether it does happen, I don't, who knows? But I mean, I'm looking at it as, okay, we have some very, very high level, well-connected people in the Department of Defense, in our intelligence community, in our private industry, in our Congress, government, doing their own personal research. In the case of Hal Puthoff, if these guys can't make it happen, I don't know who can. I mean, I'd love for Trump to just invade Area 51 and divulge all the secrets. I don't think it's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, and immediately demand that a McDonald's be put there for all his visits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So in my director's message to the 4,000 MUFON members this month, I basically said, look, I mean, this is a pretty significant event to have happened. And privately, I've told people, look, the investment decision is yours. If you want to invest in it, fine. I would look at it as a donation, not like you're going to get a return on it, but that's just me. But on the other hand, I said, in talking with Chris Mellon, because I did call him after this announcement just to kind of find out more about what this whole thing and what their hope was. His belief is that if we can get Congress to look at this one case from 2004 on the Nimitz, where I think it was 3 different F-18s got scrambled and they chased this craft around the skies and got it on gun camera footage of it, that may open the door. Now, his words to me were, Jan, we're not going to go into Congress with, we want to talk about alien bodies or crash saucers or this. We're going to say, look, there was this incident on a major aircraft carrier in the U.S. Navy of a device that they chased, a device of high technology. Whose was it? And you ask that question and you have an inquiry, which could be a closed door inquiry, could be an open door inquiry. And the congressmen and senators start asking questions of these pilots and reviewing the gun camera footage. And pretty soon it becomes like, well, whose technology, if this is not our technology, whose technology is it? That opens the door to how many more of these things have there been? And
but you're going back in time here, which I kind of like to do. And people say, I'm stuck in the 50s. And back in the 50s, Major Kehoe and NICAP were lobbying for congressional hearings. They got the hearings in the 1960s. And they got the Condon Committee. And where'd that go? And of course, MUFON came after that, as we know. When you started up in 1969 as the Midwest UFO Network. I remember. Yeah.
Well, in fact, when this all broke, I called a number of different people in the UFO community. One of them being Stephen Greer, to ask him, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Let's stop right here and let me do a break. We'll get into more of what Jan did and about disclosure and things like that. And we have a bunch of questions about MUFON to ask. More to come with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
This just in. Before your doctor gives you another antibiotic prescription that you don't want, get this free report, The Miracle of Garlic, your first home medicine. This free report is filled with easy kitchen remedies for common colds, flus, sore throats, ear infections, and more. Plus, learn to boost your immunity before you get sick. Go now to GCNwellness.com. Just like it sounds, GCNwellness.com to get your free report, The Miracle of Garlic. Click GCNwellness.com.
It's a no-brainer. A Big Berkey water filter is the one you need, period. You need a water filter that removes chlorine, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, BPA, and other endocrine disruptors, pesticides, bacteria, viruses, and much more, right? And does it all at only 2 cents per gallon. Get the original and most trusted name in gravity water filtration, Big Berkey. And now GCN listeners receive 5% off ceramic filter systems using code GCN. Call or click 1-877-99-BERKEY or BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY.
Hello?
Congratulations.
For what?
For losing all that weight. How'd you do it so fast?
ASAP.
What? What's that mean?
Are you ready to get as skinny as possible, as soon as possible, as simple as possible, and as sexy as possible?
I'm listening.
Then get with the ASAP program. It's real and it works. No smooth talk, no slick advertising, and no exaggerated claims of success.
I've got to know more.
Welcome to ASAP, as slim as possible. Whether you have 10, 20, or 50 pounds to lose, ASAP is your weight loss answer. ASAP targets the abnormal fat reserves and makes them available to be burned as fuel and contains no caffeine or hormones. Order ASAP at wholesale prices or join the team to share the business with others. Visit GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. Lose weight and look great with ASAP, as slim as possible.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
Does the current world crisis in North Korea or our domestic crisis right here in America concern you? Well, I know it concerns me. My friends over at Legacy Food Storage have solutions in the event there's the inevitable. What's the inevitable? Civil unrest, a run on your local grocery store. And here's my question to you. If this happens, how do you feed your children? How do you feed your grandchildren? Legacy Food Storage has the solutions. In fact, they can help you implement a simple plan to take care of your needs in the event of the inevitable. By calling them right now, I have authorized them to give you a special 20% discount at checkout by simply using GCN. Call 888-543-7345 or visit them at legacyfoodstorage.com. That's 888-543-7345 or visiting them at legacyfoodstorage.com. Make sure you use GCN at checkout for an incredible 20% discount. Don't be a victim. Take control of your life now.
This is Leslie Kane, and I'm with the Coalition for Freedom of Information, and you are listening to the Paracast.
A reminder once again very quickly to check out the Paracast Plus. We feature the After the Paracast podcast and lots of goodies. We even offer exclusive access to the first 2 episodes of Haunted, this Canadian ghost hunting show from Paul Kimball and Holly Stevens. But it's a little tricky to do it. You kind of have to send a private message in our forums to Paul to give you the password, but only Paracast Plus members can get it. Check out plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. Now, we have Jan Harzan, Executive Director of MUFON. You were mentioning, Jan, before we split for a quick break, getting in touch with Stephen Greer. Now, you know as we know that his reputation is kind of shaky these days. Was that the right move to make?
Yeah, he wasn't the only guy I talked to. I talked to a number of different people, but go ahead. Finish your comment, and then we'll go in.
Well, I think it's fairly obvious in terms of Greer. I think in the early days, it looked like he was strictly looking for some kind of disclosure. Now he appears to just be in it for himself, to be blunt.
Well, yeah, and then that's a whole other discussion. I've known Stephen for 25 years.
Yeah, as have I.
Yeah, as has Chris. I think that the Disclosure Project back in 2001 was a huge event that got some eyeballs on this whole topic. Yeah. And of course, Steve Bassett followed up with it several years later, about 4 or 5 years ago, did another great disclosure event. The difference between those events and what happened here on October 11th is it was the insiders doing the disclosure. It wasn't ufologists or people who have a interest in this topic bringing their military and defense friends together. So to me, it's a different thing that happened here on October 11th.
It's a major step forward. There's no question, Jan, that this is a major development. But when it comes to Stephen Greer, like I told him back in '94, his message is more important than he is.
Yes, and I don't disagree with you. I think in this field we all need to lose our egos because there are too many egos in this field, and it's hurting things. We need to be focused on what the mission is, which is discovering the truth behind these craft that are seen in our skies daily. I mean, reports pour in every day to MUFON on these things. So now the 2 things I've heard about this whole TTS thing, I've been watching kind of the chatter even within MUFON of people talking about it. There seem to be 2 major concerns. One is the financial aspects of it from an investment standpoint, and the other is this, quote, evil alien tone. I didn't hear any evil alien tone on this call, And I've talked to Hal Puthoff. I've talked to Chris Mellon. I don't know the other gentlemen personally, so I haven't talked to them. But I don't pick up any evil alien tones in this thing. And what I told individuals who were concerned about this is, look, the first thing we need to do is make this a major conversation among the general public. Because what I find, I don't know what you guys do, but when I talk to people, I mean, friends, church members, club members, people I just know through many associations, the general attitude is, oh, interesting. But they really aren't interested in this. I had coffee with the CEO of a restaurant company here just 2 days ago, and he wanted to know more about what I did because he heard about, MUFON. But when we got done with the whole thing, his comment to me was, well, this is all very interesting. He says, but, it really doesn't affect me. So I'm not going to even spend any time thinking about it. And to me, that's just like frightful, because you have advanced intelligences from wherever they're coming here, interacting with people on this planet. And the general population is completely clueless, other than maybe watching an occasional something on the Sci-Fi Channel or History or whatever. But we've got to wake up the world that this is going on, right?
Well, the thing I want to ask you then, are you more interested in getting out the message or evangelizing UFO reality, or engaging in scientific research to know exactly what they really are?
Well, for me, it's the latter. I mean, but first you have to wake up the world, because here's our problem. Our problem is today, scientists and engineers don't want to work on, and not that they don't want to work on this, but they can't work on it, because if they do, they get ostracized, they get marginalized. I mean, scientists don't want to touch the word UFO. You notice that these people always put it in other words, unidentified aerial phenomenon. I loved Hillary's comment. We don't call it UFOs. We call it unidentified aerial phenomena. Well, I don't care what you call it. It's a UFO.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but these beings, or whoever they are so far advanced from us. I mean, whether it's 100 years more, 1,000 years more, or 1,000,000 years more, that if we would just take the time to study and understand it from a physics standpoint, there's no reason why we couldn't advance our own civilization hundreds of years. And I think that was said in the trailer to this TTS by Hal Puthoff, or one of the scientists. We could leap forward to the 25th century if we pay attention to this. Yeah. And the problem is today, scientists can't study it. There's no funding out of the National Science Foundation.
Not only that, Jan, but we just had John Alexander on here a couple of weeks ago, and that's been his mantra ever since I've been listening to his public statements, is we have to make it allowable for scientists to profess an interest, just to profess an interest in the subject, without having them to be in fear of research grant money, tenure, any sort of academic ridicule. We have to take the stigma off this subject, and we can't do anything until that happens.
Well, exactly. And so now you have guys who are like, I don't know about the number 2 guy in the CIA. You've got people who were in the intelligence community within the Department of Defense. You've got a guy who worked within Congress. If these guys can get Congress to look at this thing and legitimize it as something worth studying, I think it just opens the door wide open to allow exactly that to happen. And that's why I would be supportive of it.
Right. But the thing I wonder about here is how far you push the message. If you say, let's look for these interstellar visitors, it then becomes science fiction. But if you say, we have these events, things are being seen, they seem to exhibit intelligent control, we photograph them, sometimes they see beings in connection with them, etc. Therefore, we have a mystery that we need to understand. Let's see what's going on. That may be more politically correct, which is, I think, why some people avoid specifying any final answer or conclusion. It's better to say, here's what's going on that we don't understand, that's not being explained. Let's figure it out. Do you see the distinction?
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, Gene. I mean, you've got to approach it very cautiously. And I think that's what Chris Mellon is trying to do with this whole 2004 Nimitz case. He's not going in there saying, we had a flying saucer from Zeta Reticuli flying around our skies, let's go look into it. Basically, they're saying, look, there was this incident on the Nimitz where jet fighter craft were scrambled to a possible, called a threat, whatever you want to call it, and they captured some technology which is so far advanced that it's amazing. And guess what? It's not ours. So whose is it? Is it the Russians? Is it the Chinese? No. I mean, and so you go down the track. Well, how many more of these incidents have there been? Well, I can just tell you from the reports we get, there's been a lot of these types of incidents on our military aircraft. We all know that these objects tend to go to military installations, nuclear power plants, and places where anti-gravity research is being done. I mean, that's just been the history of this phenomenon. That's where these things are seen many, many times. So I don't know what else to say.
Let me ask you. I'm going to ask you a bigger question, which is, all right, you guys have been at it since 1969. What is that? 48 years.
48 years.
Yeah, seems like only yesterday. And we're going to have to split in a minute for a piece of business. But let's focus on that for a second. Based on what you knew then and what you know now about what's going on, and I think we'll hold the answer to our next segment. But based on the awareness of what the original founders of the Midwest UFO Network knew in 1969, based on what you folks know now, in 2017, what, in general, have you learned about the UFO phenomenon? I'm going to ask that question now, and we'll have a chance to answer our next segment with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
This just in. Before your doctor gives you another antibiotic prescription that you don't want, get this free report, The Miracle of Garlic, your first home medicine. This free report is filled with easy kitchen remedies for common colds, flus, sore throats, ear infections, and more. Plus, learn to boost your immunity before you get sick. Go now to GCNwellness.com, just like it sounds, GCNwellness.com to get your free report, The Miracle of Garlic. Click GCNwellness.com.
Want revenge on the common housefly? Well, after 10,000 years, someone has finally come up with a better way. The Bug Assault, a miniaturized shotgun, which utilizes ordinary table salt as ammunition. Non-toxic and no batteries required. $39.95 plus shipping and handling. Use discount code GCN and receive 15% off your purchase at bugassault.com. Fire your fly swatter and get your Bug Assault today.
The answer to being in control of your own healthcare is freedom from insurance. Become part of a group of self-pay patients that come together to share in each other's medical expenses. Individual share amounts begin at $107 a month and $347 for families. Choose from 3 health-sharing programs. Holistic treatments may be eligible for sharing. See guidelines. Discount programs available for dental, vision, and pharmacy. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
If you're an unincorporated business owner, it's too late for you. That is, if you've already been sued and lost your home, your car, and your personal life savings. But if you haven't been sued yet, there is still time to incorporate and protect your personal assets. And the first step is just a phone call away, because Incorporate.com is now giving away a free incorporation toolkit to all business owners, including exclusive information on how to start and grow your business. For your free incorporation toolkit, call now 1-800-936-9256. Incorporation is the shield that protects your personal assets. Without it, you could lose everything. That's why at Incorporate.com, they just make incorporating or forming an LLC quick and easy. They don't provide legal or financial advice. If someone sues tomorrow, will you lose everything? Don't wait until it's too late. Call now for your free incorporation toolkit. Hurry, they're still giving them away for free at 1-800-936-9256. Call 1-800-936-9256. That's 1-800-936-9256.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Hi, this is nuclear physicist lecturer Stanton Friedman. You are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So, Jan Harzan, what have you guys learned over the 48 years?
That's a broad question, Gene. Thanks for asking it. Well, I think one thing for sure is that these objects are real. And of course, we've known that for the better part of the 48 years. They appear to exhibit advanced physics that we don't currently understand, or at least we don't understand in the white world. I think from my own mindset, they appear to be able to manipulate space and time. I mean, I don't know from my own personal experiences. I mean, they seem to be able to manipulate space and time, which means that they could come from any place in space and time. They don't necessarily need to be from this universe here. They could be from another universe. They don't necessarily need to be from this solar system or this star system. But it is something that is so far advanced from our understanding of how reality is shaped, how consciousness is shaped, that it begs further exploration into all of these areas to try to figure it out. Now, I've had the opportunity over the last 2 years to be welcomed into a community of physicists and scientists who are working on advanced UFO propulsion, and one of those being James Woodward, who spoke at our 2017 symposium up in Las Vegas, in his laboratory, where he was showing me some Mach effects, which are part of Einstein's general theory of relativity. As he was showing me his experiments and things he was working on, he stopped and he said, Jan, some point in the future, maybe 100 years from now, and then he paused and he said, no, maybe 20 or 30 years from now, you'll be able to wear a device on your wrist and you'll be able to put in a time and a place, press a button, and your own personal wormhole will open up and you'll be able to step through to that place and time. Now, I'm thinking to myself, well, that would certainly explain a lot of what we're seeing in the UFO phenomenon, right? Just think of Skinwalker Ranch and the things they reported happening up there. I just think it's so phenomenally, incredible that we really need to step into that future, which is why I've been involved in this whole thing since the day I had my own close encounter at the age of 10, because I realized that the technology these craft are displaying and these beings who probably fly them is something that if we could quickly get there, we could really solve a lot of problems on this planet. So the search is still going on, Gene. I mean, it's not conclusive. I mean, even if they came out tomorrow and said, yes, absolutely, these are from extraterrestrials or from interdimensionals or however you want to put it, and they know this, that, and the other, I don't think it'll close, because I think that'll only open the curiosity box for most people who will want to know more about, well, who are these beings? Where are they from? Why are they here? What is our relationship to them? So I think there's a whole lot more that needs to be done in this whole space. I'm challenging our ERT team to try to pull some of this data together, because I think that's the next step for this whole field, which is, okay, great, we know they're real. We actually now understand how they get here from there, but now we want to learn more about who they are.
Well, we don't understand how they get here from there. We are theorizing.
Well, yeah, no, but I'm saying, but I'm talking at a point in the future, let's say 10 years from now, 20 years, we now understand that. At that point, I think, and it's general knowledge to the average guy in the street, that we're being visited on a regular basis by other intelligences. I think their next question in their minds could be, well, who are these people, right? I mean, that'd be the logical question you'd ask.
Well, then we have to also assume if they are extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, whatever, how long have they really been here? Because we could talk about the so-called ancient astronauts, about weird things happening all through the centuries, not just something that started in 1947. And in that case, if you have an intelligence that's been here so long, and we assume have continued to develop their technology, would we even be able to recognize it? I mean, if they can open up a wormhole and go from here to there, why would they need flying saucers?
That's a good question. I mean, that's the question when people go down the track of demonology. I always say, well, why do demons need a craft to fly from here to there?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, as Captain Kirk said once, why does God need a spaceship?
Yeah. Well, again, I need to interject something here. I'm constantly asked by, people, they find out, however, that I'm interested in all these types of subjects, and they go, somebody, they go, oh, you're into aliens. And my stock answer is always, well, wait a minute. How do you know that they're the aliens? How do we know that we're not the aliens and that they've been here longer than we have and we aren't even from here? People make all these knee-jerk assumptions that we're dealing with visitors from elsewhere and that we're the ones that are supposed to be here. It may be topsy-turvy. It may be 180 degrees different. And until we're able to establish just the playing field and the players obviously in the playing field, I think would be the next step. But until we're able to make some very basic determinations, I mean, we're going to be spinning our wheels. And maybe that's why this whole phenomenon is here to begin with. Going back to, Valet 101, maybe this is just some sort of collective sort of control mechanism to pull us off planet, let's say, to go out and see the universe, to take some of the pressure off the wonderful biodiversity and the environment here. Maybe this is just some sort of ruse to get us off planet, that it has nothing to do with other intelligences, other creatures, other agendas, technologically based scenarios that are grounded in some sort of other civilization, let's say. Until we, I think, really grasp the full philosophical implications of what we're dealing with, I don't think we have a snowball's chance in hell of figuring out what it is that we're dealing with, why they're here, and what their agenda is.
Yeah, well, Chris, along those lines, I mean, I think this is kind of where you were going with it. I mean, this could be a civilization that grew up on Earth, a million years ago, and for whatever reason decided to go underground, right, or go under the oceans or wherever they went. And so it could just be past civilizations from our own planet, right? That's another possibility.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, I've always had the sense that we're dealing with other tenants in the building, and that possibly reptilians are dinosaurs that actually evolved before the end of the Cretaceous, got off planet to save themselves, and now coming back to check out the old stomping grounds and see if maybe they want to reappropriate the real estate.
When you talk about ancient civilizations leaving the Earth, that's the classic legend of the Deros and the Tiros from Richard Schaefer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a ring to it.
Well, but what if they never left the Earth? What if they just decided to go live under the Earth or something? Who knows?
Or in the caves.
Or in the caves, yeah. I mean, it's.
Or in the Earth's mantle. I saw this weird Edward Snowden, which I haven't seen any further mention of this, but supposedly there's some sort of monitoring program going on in the Earth's trenches where we have the deep volcanic vents, and that objects are being monitored, leaving and entering some of the deepest portions of the ocean to some sort of subterranean, oceanic realm or something, and that the government knows, and the president gets daily reports. I saw some crazy story that obviously had a ring of hoax and fake news, I think is the term du jour right now. But that whole scenario, I think has just as much relevance in terms of hypotheticals as any sort of ET coming from another star system does, or any interdimensionals or any of that sort of thing. I've always said, exhaust all closed system scenarios before jumping off planet. I mean, that's been my mantra for many years, and I'll stick to it. I think this is really important that we establish what we're dealing with here, just on the very basic level before we even attempt to try to interpret the actions or second guess agendas, that sort of thing. So
it just shows that we have a lot more work to do, right, Chris? We have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I think hard data monitoring of hotspot areas is a logical place to start. And I know Jan agrees with me on that and on some level. And obviously monitoring activity is important, but getting real-time data, on a daily basis that's scientific in nature and has, real numbers attached to it and real data attached to it, to me is the obvious way to go. And even if we attempt to do it and we're circumvented by some sort of tricksterish agenda, a la the Sherman Ranch or Skinwalker Ranch, that speaks volumes just in and of itself. We're able to determine a lot from being circumvented from our process.
Mm-hmm. No, I couldn't agree with you more. We're entering a time in our history with computer technology, the internet, everything else, that real-time monitoring is now much easier to do than it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be wiring these areas up like San Luis Valley and others to be able to monitor this stuff from a number of different perspectives, not just video and audio, but magnetometers and you name it. We should be able to get
gravitometers, infrared, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
We've got to do our break, and we got more to come with Jan Harzan. And Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Hi, I'm Craig Samet, Chief Clinical Officer from Anthem. Every new parent dreams of bringing their baby home for the first time. But some babies are born too sick or too soon to come home right away. That's why the Anthem Foundation supports the life-saving research and programs of the March of Dimes, the leading nonprofit organization for pregnancy and baby health. Help us give every baby a fighting chance so that more babies can come home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.org.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. Radio remains the most intimate of all forms of media. At home, at work, in the car, on smartphones. Over 90% of consumers still listen to radio every week. That makes choosing radio as a place to advertise your business one of the best decisions you can make. Email advertise@gcnlive.com and partner up with an experienced GCN representative. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Now, Jan, before we get back to the search for the answers to the UFO mystery, I want to ask you a few things about MUFON organizationally, some concerns that have come up, I guess, the last year or two. And you know what I mean here. So let's go through some of that and see what happened and what's happening going forward. So, of course, we have the story that one of your state directors posts something on Facebook that's very, very, to be blunt, white supremacist in nature, and that started a furor. How did you guys treat that?
Well, initially, the posting that got made was taken down pretty quickly. I mean, because it was done in air, honestly. We've all done things that we regret. So the initial take was that this was a personal Facebook post, was not done in any official capacity to MUFON. So therefore, it was a personal thing. Now, we did ask that the individual apologize, and he actually did apologize to the people for doing it. You know, I always find it interesting that people are quick to point out other people's faults, but rarely their own. And, you know, I go back to John 8:7, you know, he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. But ultimately, because of this particular individual's stature within MUFON and everything else, we decided that the right thing to do was to remove him from that position. So that was the action taken. I mean, it was done and it's over with and behind us. I mean, there's no place for racism or white supremacy in any organization. And MUFON stands behind a full equal opportunity mantra for the organization. I mean, we have anybody and everybody who are members of MUFON or who volunteer and are part of MUFON, and we appreciate that.
I can identify with that because I'm an equal opportunity offender. I go out of my way to be as offensive as I can be to everybody when it suits the whole agenda of getting people thinking. But I was a little bit surprised that the individual in question, I don't know why we're not mentioning who it is, but
go ahead, mention it.
Well, John Ventry was walking around Las Vegas, kind of like he owned the place, glad handing everybody and stuff. I personally, if it had been me that had my pants, gotten pants like he did, I would have had a hard time showing up at an international symposium and walking around like nothing had happened. I was really surprised about that, Jen.
You know, anyone can go anywhere they want. I mean, it's a great country.
I know.
Yeah, but I would get him on the show and have him talk. What I can tell you about the actual incident, which might be of interest for the backstory for those who don't know, John got a posting. I mean, he's big into the whole social media task. I'm not as good at it. I monitor it, but I don't really engage in all this stuff because I think it's kind of a lot of craziness in many cases. But
a lot of time wasting.
Yeah, I get better things to do with my time. But he got a posting basically saying that Netflix was going to run a show on white genocide. Now, his grandmother happens to be one of the individuals, she's Jewish, who lived through the Holocaust. I don't know what her direct linkage to the Holocaust was, but she went through the Holocaust. And so that infuriated him, which caused him to generate a short, terse message about that posting he got. And that's what started this whole furor. He realized that he got bad information, whether it's fake news, whatever you want to call it, that the posting wasn't correct. The person who posted it didn't have their facts straight. So once he figured it out, he immediately removed it and apologized for what he posted. So you can go every which way, but Sunday, I mean, was it appropriate to do? No, it wasn't appropriate. You know, did he realize that? He realized that. Did he apologize for it? Yes, he apologized for it. I don't know what else you want to do. I guess we could have burned him in effigy, but we said, look, it's not a.
Well, I think we kind of did. At least the community did. My God, I've never seen so many people come out and just fire with all freaking barrels blazing, boy.
You know something, though? I looked at the messages over at Kevin Randall's Different Perspective, where he responded, and I did not like the way he came off. Well, I've got some information here that I'm going to present at the right time. And he was just shouting off and boasting. Yeah, well, and I just thought when you start taking that attitude, under these circumstances, it doesn't really show him off in a good light.
No.
Right. Yeah, and I don't want to drag this into the realm of politics, but in light of all these exposés that we're seeing right now with the sexual predators, I don't think there's any place for that. I don't think there's any place for bigotry and racism. And right now, I think we're being put into a situation culturally where everything's getting galvanized into real black and white sort of stark definitions in terms of where you stand on things. And I think the leadership in this country, current leadership, is really responsible for this knee-jerk response into real good, bad, black, white type thinking. And I think it's important for everybody to be very, very careful and I'm talking to myself as well as anybody, when we comment on things that may have innuendos that are unintended even, or blatant statements that might be construed in a way that's is really going to come back and, pardon the expression, bitch slap you. So I think everybody should be very, very careful right now, especially in our field. It's already controversial enough. We don't need to make it more controversial. And someone like a John Ventre should really understand that he is in a position of authority, being the state director. And I think, wasn't he a director of several states, I think, wasn't he? Or he had some sort of...
Yeah, he was helping us monitor him. He's actually developing state directors to go into those states, but yeah.
Right. Well, that's a really important position of power and responsibility, and to have a lapse like that is really, to me, it's inexcusable. And especially now in this day and age, I think he was right at the cusp of this now emerging phase that I think culturally we're going to be going through. And I think it's really important for anybody involved in the field of the paranormal, ufology, these very, very controversial subjects, that, boy, we are really under the microscope now. And we really have to be careful, because there's magnifying glasses on all our asses right now. And we really have to be careful. And we really have to second guess everything that we do and say, and read things through, and don't respond in a knee-jerk fashion. It's going to come back and hurt everybody.
Yeah, and I think your comments too on this black and white are right on in terms of you're seeing people lining up on opposite. It's like there's no middle ground anymore. You're either on the far left or you're on the far right, or the top or the bottom, or whatever you want to say. But I've never seen a more polarized, at least in the United States. I don't know if it's like this in other countries, but at least
I
in the
absolutely
United States.
agree. I've never seen it as polarized as we're seeing now.
I mean, even back in the 60s when we had race riots and everything else, I just people were at least talking with each other. You know, they were now we can't even get conversations going.
No, we can't.
It's like we're living in two different worlds. Yeah.
It's really important for folks like ourselves who are interested in controversial subjects that are highly, highly contentious in many ways, to be extra vigilant, extra careful about the posture that we take. Not only be careful about what we say, but how we say it, I think is also would be a pretty good piece of advice. Oh my God.
Absolutely. Well, and there's this saying, before you point out someone else's faults, remove the plank from your own eye. The one thing I would say that I thought could have gone better in this whole thing was the people who were ranting and raving on social media about this whole thing. If they had just picked up the phone and called John and said, John, look, I read your post and I was really disappointed. Someone of your caliber to have put something like this on, and let John explain himself. And, maybe there's no explanation for it, but the point is there needs to be dialogue. And when dialogue stops in any society, that's when wars begin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I absolutely agree.
Let's break, guys. We're going to break and then go into a few more organizational things with MUFON and get back to the search for the UFOs and where that will take us. With Jan Harzan's our special guest. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, we've made such a deal with HelloFresh, and it means that everyone listening to this show can receive $30 off your first week of deliveries when you go to HelloFresh.com and use the offer code Paracast30. With HelloFresh, you can choose the delivery day that works best for you. They've got a wide variety of chef-curated recipes that change weekly. And can you imagine me cooking Japanese panko chicken? It makes me feel like I'm a chef. It means also that you could actually get your meal cooked in 30 minutes. For busy people, this is perfect. The simple recipes include step-by-step instructions so even I can figure it out. Go to HelloFresh.com, use the offer code Paracast30 to get $30 off your first week of deliveries HelloFresh.com.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com. Virtual care anywhere.
It's been said, any society is only 3 missed meals away from chaos. Those times may be near. Think about it. Our country faces multiple terrorist threats and aggressions from Russia and North Korea. Social unrest and violent marches yet again may lead to looting of stores and city shutdowns. And our crumbling infrastructure leaves our power grid vulnerable to long-term outages from a single cyber attack. When the chaos from any one of these threats arises, the government knows it can't provide during a widespread national emergency. That's why you need your own plan for self-reliance. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. Get a 4-week survival food supply for only $99. That includes breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Order online at preparewithgcn.com. $99 for 4 weeks of survival food that tastes like homemade cooking and lasts up to 25 years. From My Patriot Supply. Get your kits today at preparewithgcn.com. Free shipping is included. Preparewithgcn.com.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon you'll need a plan and place to survive. Forget bunkers. You're not a live underground gopher. You need survivalist camps, the ultimate fully functional, off-the-grid mobile survival bug-out house that's well-equipped and custom-built to outlast any other RV or trailer. Bold statement? You bet. See them now at survivalistcamps.com. That's survivalistcamps.com. Trust your family's survival to survivalistcamps.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Okay, another issue that's come up is you've got I don't know if you call it a committee or something called Inner Circle at MUFON. So far, I see it's got a dozen members listed, including yourself, former directors. And the first question before I ask more about it, so people want to know, do you have to be a member of the Inner Circle to be a possible director of MUFON?
No, these are just donation levels. So, and we can change, the names could be gold, bronze, silver, platinum, whatever you want to say. But basically, people who have donated a certain amount of money to the organization over time, or one time, I guess, they make certain levels. And so we've even discussed whether that even needs to be posted. But no, it has nothing to do with, your stature in MUFON or what access to information you have. I mean, everybody has the same access. So, and it certainly doesn't have anything to do with whether you can become the director of MUFON.
Well, the only thing is here, you have people here, most of the people who have been director are in this list. And this involves people who have donated $5,000 or more to MUFON.
Correct. But that's just because those people are pretty generally people who are supportive of the mission of MUFON, and they want to make sure it's successful. And they realize that any nonprofit, we have offices, we have staff, we have phones, we've got computers. It costs money to run all that stuff. So if you're not constantly fundraising and growing the membership and doing what you do, there's not much you can do. There's not much you can achieve as an organization if you don't have any funding to do it. I'd love everything to be a complete 100% volunteer, but then nothing ever happens. I mean, we spent the first 30 years of the organization. You collect a lot of paper files, you put them in boxes, and they sit in a warehouse. What good does that do? Nothing. So you have to put action behind it. So it takes money to do that. So these are nothing but basically donation levels that people have. So, and you give them a little recognition for the fact that they did put out of their pocket some money to help support the organization. I mean, it's no more. That's what it is. There were people trying to make a big deal out about it. It was a secret society, and I think because of the name Inner Circle, and I'm not even sure who came up with that name. That was kind of the thought process behind it. But no, it's just strictly donation levels.
Well, maybe it would serve then to put a couple of sentences here.
Okay.
Of clarification. So if people looking at it saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? We've got people who donate more than $5,000 to an organization, which is understandable. You're a nonprofit corporation, and you have a right, certainly, to ask for donations. And it's tax deductible. Of course, with Washington, we don't know how long that's going to last. But maybe there should be some clarification as to that. And I think now, because we're in a politically correct world, anything you do, as Chris said, is under the microscope, and maybe just look at things like that so that things are addressed. Like an example, people speaking on behalf of the organization or who are in a position of authority, to just be a little careful about the things they say, because it will extend to their private lives whether they want it to or not. And that's also unfortunate.
And also, people look at something like a Jay-Z Knight, for instance, who's, I think, one of these larger contributors. And, I think James Clarkson brought up a point in his widely disseminated letter of resignation that, he didn't want to be, I guess I'm trying to paraphrase this, but the association of someone like that who's highly controversial, being a channeler of Ramtha and all this, and someone who's kind of in his neighborhood, basically up there in Washington State, he felt uncomfortable with the perception that someone like that maybe on some level calling the shots around there or exerting some sort of influence when their particular private scenario in their lives of having kind of a cultish group around them waiting on the latest musings of the 10,000-year-old adept named Ramtha to come through Jay-Z Knight in that weird, funny voice. It just didn't seem to be something that he felt comfortable with being associated with MUFON. Now, I understand that just because somebody has a private life, that shouldn't really be held against them when they're a benefactor with MUFON. I understand that it's kind of apples and oranges, but there is the issue of perception management going on here as well. I mean, how do you reconcile that? I mean, what can you do?
Well, here's the story. It's as simple as this. When I took over as executive director 5 years ago, we got a call from an organization saying we're holding a conference in Washington and we'd like someone from MUFON to speak at it. At the time when it was, I couldn't go. So I asked Dave McDonald, my predecessor, if he could fly out and speak to this group. I didn't know much about the group. It turned out it was a conference over a weekend, probably on this spiritual retreat group. That was all I knew about it, other than the fact they wanted someone to come speak for MUFON. Dave reached out to James Clarkson and invited him to go with them. So the two of them went to the conference. Dave spoke. They had a great time and met all the people, met Jay-Z Knight, met all these folks. And I even have pictures of them having dinner with Jay-Z Knight, the two of them. We received a nice check from the organization, and that was it. I mean, they said, thank you for having someone come speak. We didn't ask him for the check, just sent us a check. So we put the check at the bank, and, I have never spoken to Jay-Z. I've never met Jay-Z Knight. I don't even know Jay-Z Knight.
People need to know that.
Well, yeah, it's pretty significant. But, I'm not one to go point fingers or go make a big deal about things.
Right. But some people are, Jen.
What?
Some people are. I don't think it's that big of a deal myself personally, but have you ever seen her channel Ramtha?
No, I haven't watched it.
Okay, you should check that out sometime.
Okay.
And then wonder why people maybe have issues with someone like that being considered on some sort of inner circle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've never spoken. She's never asked anything of MUFON, and it's like
you should talk to her and ask her to ask Romptho what he thinks of MUFON, and maybe he has some advice for the organization.
Thanks, Chris. I'm going to get right on that one.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
I know.
Well, we're going to channel something right now. No, we're not going to channel, but I think you see now, Jan, that there's a need to be circumspect. Because you're dealing with a subject that's already controversial. There's already the perception that you're just a bunch of doe-eyed ET believers out there. And, when you throw in anything about abductions, it gets to be even wackier, regardless of the truth
Blue
behind
aliens and time-traveling 5-year-olds to Mars. And I mean, come on. That's, and that's a whole nother subject that I'm sure we're going to talk about at some point is where you draw the line of presenting information that is absolutely, has no provenance, has no evidence to back it up, no proof, no documentation, no corroborative evidence whatsoever, and to present individuals presenting this type of information with the caveat, well, we want people to make up their own minds, to me is highly problematic to be actually really kind about it and low key.
We're going to pursue that in our next segment with Jan Harzan. Gene and Chris, you're in
Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Most people think life insurance pays after you're dead. That's true. But did you know you can have tax-free access to your life insurance while you're still alive? You can use the life benefits of your life insurance to grow your money with certainty and guarantees. No stock market risk, no tax risk, and no penalties. Call Life Benefits if you'd like a free book about how this can be done. Call 702-660-7000. That's 702-660-7000.
Actual testimonials from real Numana customers.
I've tried all kinds of food storage, and Numana is by far the best.
I'm a single mom with 2 teenage boys and a full-time job. I don't always have time to cook a 4-course meal. That's where Numana has been such a blessing. I can spend less time in the kitchen and more time on what matters most, like helping with homework.
Find out for yourself. Order online at thepowermall.com. That's thepowermall.com. Numana is...
Food stores I love to eat. Yum!
Thepowermall.com.
For P150, P150GA, P150NY, P150OK, P150TN, C250A, C250E, C250Q. Not available in all states. If New York or Colorado, call for a similar offer.
What's the scariest thing about going to the dentist? Opening your mouth or opening your wallet? Because just a simple cleaning can cost $100, and things like root canals can cost you hundreds more. If you don't have dental insurance to help, call Physicians Mutual Insurance Company, 1-800-972-6540. This isn't a discount plan or preventive-only coverage. This is real dental insurance that helps pay for checkups right away. So you can call today and get your teeth cleaned tomorrow. Plus, it helps cover the more expensive procedures you might need down the road. Fillings, crowns, bridges, even costly dentures. There's no deductible and no annual maximum. Your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these insurance policies, even if you're retired. There are no networks, so you can choose any dentist you'd like. Call now for a free information kit with all the details. 1-800-972-6540. That's 1-800-972-6540. 1-800-972-6540.
Sometimes life can be a pain in the neck, or back, or shoulder. Long distance travel or long hours in front of a computer can take its toll on your body. Why take another pill? Treat your aches and pains with Sunshine Pillows. Microwavable heat wraps, heatable neck pillows, and extra large body heating wraps. Sunshine Pillows and wraps are designed better for perfect support where and when you need it, even while driving. Sunshine Pillows are designed with your comfort in mind, will not burn you, and will stay balanced on your body to provide soothing hot or cold therapy to treat temporary or chronic pain. And the best part, Sunshine Pillows start at just $20. Join hundreds of our happy customers and see why Sunshine Pillows has a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy. Click sunshine-pillows.com and take the Sunshine Pillow Challenge. That's sunshine-pillows.com.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply, or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now, earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
Hi, it's Grant Cameron from presidentialufo.com. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Now, obviously, Chris O'Brien is talking here about the 2017 MUFON Symposium, Jan, which obviously was talking about the so-called secret space program. Now, in the old days of the UFO field, and it didn't always happen, there was this line of demarcation between so-called scientific ufology and the wacky part. The people who were time travelers, who met the blonde Venusians. This, that, and the other thing. Now, do we see here an attempt to merge these different factions or what? Why present people who have theories that just don't make any logical sense?
Well, here was the idea behind that whole conference. There have been about 6 books published in the last year and a half on the subject of the secret space program. So let's go back in time here. When I was 10, I saw a craft in my backyard 30 feet from me, hovering 10 feet off the ground. It was a very advanced technological device because it had no wings, no engines, no nothing on it. But it was hovering there. And my first reaction was that it was man-made. I made that thought because of the fact there was a bolt between a crossbars that were the scissoring function on the landing gear. But as I studied that craft, I could see that it was seamless and no windows, no doors, and completely like melded out of one piece of metal. We see these in many reports we get of these craft that are sighted these days. But I can't tell you for certain that it was extraterrestrial or where it came from of this planet, or if it was something we built ourselves. And that was 1965. Now, fast forward to 1993, and I'm attending a UCLA lecture for alumni of the engineering school, and Ben Rich is presenting. And his last slide is a black disc zipping off into outer space, and he says these words, we now have the technology to take ET home. He had made that same presentation in 92 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which got recorded. Unfortunately, the one I was in was not recorded, but other witnesses were there. But in private conversation afterwards with a small group of people who stayed around to talk to him, he basically said, we found an error in the equations and we now know how to travel to the stars, and it won't take us our lifetime to do it. He was pretty emphatic that this was where we were headed. That was 34 years ago. So the other thing is that the last spy plane announced by the Lockheed Skunk Works or by the military or by anybody, the government, was the F-117, which I think was actually built in 83. It was first shown to the public during one of the Gulf Wars with Iraq in, I think, 94, maybe 10 years later, 93, 94.
It was unveiled in the late 1990, early 91, I believe.
Yeah, but that's going back almost 20, 30 years. So what we've just done nothing for 20 or 30 years? I don't believe that. I think that there's been quite a bit of stuff done in the last 20 or 30 years. So this brought up the topic of with all these books and this knowledge that we have in the public domain, that is it possible that some of these unknowns, because about 30% of our cases after careful investigation end up in the unknown bucket, which means we can't identify them as anything. could some of these, and I emphasize some, could some of these be our own craft, our own aircraft, our own spacecraft, our own something? And so we decided to put the theme around the secret space, the case for a secret space program. As it turns out, many people think there's multiple secret space programs going on. I don't know. I mean, that's just one of the theories.
Isn't it logical, though, that we certainly have a secret space program when it comes to spy satellites?
Well, we certainly have it with regard to spy satellites, but we're talking about putting men in space or
sure,
humans in space.
Well, in bases on Mars and on the dark side of the moon and all that. But Jan, you know Ron Regehr.
Yeah.
I mean, Ron was Aerojet, Douglas Aircraft, 35, 40 years. He worked on Apollo, Skylab, DSP. I mean, you go down the list of black budget projects that he was involved with and still has knowledge that he can't divulge even today. I mean, I just went up to Grand Canyon with him yesterday, and we actually talked a little bit about this, as we invariably do. And one of the things that he mentioned to me was anybody in aerospace knows when there's something cool going on because everybody's trying to get the same exotic materials. And when somebody has the budget to get it, everybody else is jealous and, of course, knows that something's going on. He says it is a very, very small fraternity when it comes to materials procurement and technological breakthroughs even. And he says that, even though he doesn't have the kind of security clearances that a Ben Rich would have or someone of that stature in the aerospace industry, he says it's fairly common knowledge when new projects come down the pike. And when you mention the whole concept of space fleets and bases on the moon and Mars, he rolls his eyes and goes, this is absolute fabricated science fiction. And I'm not saying that to cover up what I know. He says it's just inconceivable to him that people who aren't doing due diligence and not looking into this from a rational, aerospace grounded point of view. He says anybody that has any sort of knowledge about the aerospace industry knows that it's impossible. There's just not enough of the right kind of materials going around to possibly allocate to incredibly, costly projects like this without a lot of people knowing it and word getting out. Just to me, claiming that I'm 5 years old, they teleport me to Mars, I have a 20-year career, and then I'm teleported back through time to 5 years old and I remember the 20 years. I mean, anybody that is allowed to have that story and speak on a stage at MUFON, to me is a major, major mistake politically and just as to me, it's just a way to put butts in the seats because these books that all quote each other are incredibly popular right now, and people like David Wilcock and others are making really good money promoting these types of I think bad science fiction stories. And then when you start hearing about Corey's kids, ritual magic, and kind of weird cultish type things that do not come up in conversations about secret space programs, but are attendant to the individuals involved, I get worried.
Yeah, so let's go look at that. Let's investigate that real quick here. We do have data from at least two data points. One being Carl Wolf, who in 1966-67 timeframe was an airman second class in the Air Force stationed at Langley Air Force Base, and during one of the lunar orbiter missions was asked by his boss to go over to the NSA headquarters and fix a printer because he was part of the photographic group. He was a technician. He thought he was going over to NASA because he didn't know NSA, as a 22-year-old, NSA didn't mean anything to him. So when he said NSA, he thought he meant NASA, NASA. He went over, and I won't go through the whole scene, but he was pretty impressed the fact that he walked in a hangar and it was full of workstations with people from all over this planet. Now, there were Russians, Chinese, Americans, all manning this thing. It was an NSA operation. They were taking the feeds from the lunar orbiter, cleaning them up before passing them on to NASA and the public. Right. I'm not even sure NASA knew this was going on, but he was led into a cipher-locked room, led to a printer, and as he was trying to figure out how to get the printer moved to a place where he could work on it, the other airman second class who took him into the cipher-locked printer room said, "Oh, look at this. We've found bases on the moon." Carl looked at the photographs. He saw buildings, dome buildings, I think some other type buildings, I know Carl personally. I've known him for almost 30 years. He's not someone who's delusional. He saw buildings on the moon, the backside of the moon. That's one data point. And then we've got Donna Hare.
Right, of course. I was going to bring her up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now she didn't see anything personally herself, but she
saw them airbrushing details out of photographs. And
right.
By the way, Carl, was he at Langley, Virginia?
Virginia, yes.
I need to check. I know an F-16 pilot there. I'm going to check. I totally forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
I'd be happy to introduce you to him. He's a great guy. It sounds
infinitely believable. I had a guy, Wayne Holland, who's one of Stephen Greer's witnesses in the original Disclosure Project.
Let's talk about that in our next segment with Gene and Chris and Jan Harzan. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA-packed technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
This just in. Before your doctor gives you another antibiotic prescription that you don't want, get this free report, The Miracle of Garlic, your first home medicine. This free report is filled with easy kitchen remedies for common colds, flus, sore throats, ear infections, and more. Plus, learn to boost your immunity before you get sick. Go now to GCNwellness.com. Just like it sounds, GCNwellness.com to get your free report, The Miracle of Garlic. Click GCNwellness.com.
You haven't experienced yogurt until you've tried a Mossy, embodying health and flavor in a true whole milk, green-fed dairy beverage. Every sip pays homage to our old world cows and the ancient culturing methods their milk benefits from. With over 30 probiotics, a Mossy's undeniably nutritious, refined, cultured sensation bolsters your health and awakens your passion for dairy. A Mossy's so good, and you need to try it. Contact your Youngevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to GCNteam.com.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-557-0158. That's 800-557-0158. Again, 800-557-0158.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to goberkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. goberkey.com.
Hi, this is James Fox from Chasing UFOs. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Chris was talking here about someone he knew and about the implications of the topics we're talking about, Chris.
Well, I had this guy show up, friend of a friend type thing. Guy was grew up, son of a CIA operative, Bremerton, Washington. He thought his dad was a painting contractor, stumbled into the knowledge that his dad was something other than that. Ended up having special talents and skills. Long story short, ended up logging computer punch cards on UFOs doing cattle mutilations in the Midwest in the early to mid 70s, according to him. And the hangar was a building that was able to be hidden holographically. At one point, he was shown footage. Somebody was showing off to him and showed him classified footage with Russian acrylic writing underneath, going over a red planetary surface. There's plenty of these apocryphal stories, but when it comes down to procurements and budgets and materials and things that are really needed to make all this stuff a reality, there's a place where the stories kind of end and then the reality begins. How do we know that people aren't shown things? Bob Lazar would be a classic example. Maybe the guy was profiled psychologically to be someone that would become a whistleblower, and let's program this guy with all sorts of stuff that we know he's going to talk about because of his psych profile, and let's fill his head full of stuff, and then have this wonderful disinformation program out there, seeding knowledge about whatever subject you want to disinform people about. Richard Doty is another one. This guy's he just was on Linda Howe's show. We tried to get him on our show. We wanted to put some hard questions to him about his particular experiences with AFOSI and Gabe Valdez and the New Mexico State Patrol and other things.
With Richard Doty, it's still in the realm of possibility. Enough said. Go ahead.
Okay. I think MUFON should be, at least personally, my opinion, MUFON should be above the fray, and that these types of conferences featuring these types of individuals aren't up to the standard of excellence that I would expect from MUFON. And I understand.
Chris, yeah, go ahead.
I just understand that you're going with trends where people are interested in stuff and you want to get butts in the seats. There were a lot of people there at that conference, the most that I've seen in a while. So it was a successful conference. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was our most successful conference ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a little bit concerned, Jan, that you put up some sort of loosey-goosey stuff that really can't be proven. Of course, who's the gentleman just died? The Navy guy, William Tompkins. His story is interesting. However, when you start cross-referencing all these people's accounts, they tend to be filling in the blanks of each other's stories, and they're relying on details that have already come before, and there's very little new information, like the whole time-traveling thing with Corey Goode kind of reminds me of Andrew Basiago, Laura Eisenhower's stuff. Oh, I was trained by Ed Dames and Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro and I, and Basiago went to Mars. This is beneath MUFON, okay? In my estimation, there's got to be a way for you to attract that kind of audience to your symposiums without going that extra step of legitimizing what these people have to say, because there is no way that this can be proven. Until it can, you can't give them carte blanche and be signing off on their stories and let people decide. That's that's not your role.
Having someone speak at a conference and endorsing them are two completely different things, though, Chris.
By having them speak, you're endorsing them in my book.
Well, I don't think that's true. I mean, if you watch the promo video on the front of the MUFON Symposium, which I think is still there, MUFONsymposium.com for that conference, I was very emphatic that we were going to be covering the entire waterfront of this whole subject area. And we started off with mainstream scientists. It was supposed to be Brandenburg. Unfortunately, he had heart surgery the week before. But
oh, wow, I didn't know that. Is he all right?
Yeah, he's doing much better. Thank you. Yes, definitely. But we had James Woodward from.
Yeah, James Woodward's very interesting.
Yeah, and then we went into the UFO researchers like Mark McCandlish. Now, Mark, I just think the world of Mark and also Michael Schratt. I mean, that these two guys have been involved in this field for, since the beginning of time almost.
Right. Yeah, they have.
And they've, at least in the case of Michael Schratt, I mean, he has come and crawled through the Stringfield files and our cases and just a tremendous researcher. And both of them have their own stories to tell from the research that they've done. In the case of Mark McCandlish, he was an illustrator for the aerospace industry. And in that capacity, got to see a lot of things I'm sure he's not even today allowed to talk about. But he also had conversations with people who told him some of the stuff that was going on. So that's how he comes up with the information he's got on the ARV, I guess, and these types of things. Another speaker was Tom Keller. Tom actually was here in Orange County just 2 nights ago speaking. It related the story when he lived in Lancaster, knew Gary Schultz and some of the other guys out there who used to go out to Area 51. But when he was in Lancaster, he just, through a friend, met a gentleman who was a test pilot who landed at, I think, or was that in Palmdale? I believe it was. But anyway, he got off his jet and was looking for a restroom and accidentally stumbled into a hangar where there were drawings of flying saucers. And there was the mechanical drawings, detailed drawings of, they were building a flying saucer out in Palmdale. I believe it was the Lockheed Skunk Works site out there. But
right.
So we have these cases of people. Now, can you say, well, show me the drawing? There's no drawing there. No one has the drawing, This particular person was grabbed by the security guards and interrogated to find out what he knew and what he didn't know. And before he was released, he was told that he could never repeat anything he'd seen in that location. But we had a lot of speakers there. There were 12 speakers, and you're going back to 2 of the speakers, but there were 10 others that we started with the very scientific part of this thing. We went through the investigative part of it and had people talk to that. And then, on the back end, I even said in the video, I said, look, we're going to have some very speculative stuff here, but you need to listen to it and decide if it fits for you. For a lot of people, it didn't fit. That's fine. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Mars or not. I have no idea. But we thought because it was part of the entire conversation that people should be able to see the whole thing all the way through.
Doesn't it, though, create, as they say, a bad feeling for the entire thing? If you have 10 people who are solid scientific and 2 wacky people, that the critics, the press, they'll look at the wacky people and say, that's typical. Look at this convention. You have people here who travel through time. They're like John Carter of Mars, where they sit in one place and they go to Mars by astral projection or something, whatever it is. That's what gets the attention. That's why you have to be politically correct.
Yeah, actually, it had quite the opposite effect. I had people walking up to me who in years past said they would never have anything to do with MUFON. They were UFO researchers, and they were at the event, and they were thanking me for having the open-mindedness to allow that conversation to happen. You can't shut down conversation. You have to allow people to discuss things. We lost a handful of people who are very conservative in their viewpoints on things, but we picked up hundreds more who were open-minded enough to say, I'll listen to it. I don't have to believe it. I don't have to. The sign of an intelligent mind is being able to listen to something and not necessarily take it to be truth, but just listen to it. So, look, it was a one-time event. We pick a different topic. This next symposium in 2018 is going to be about UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the future of humanity. And we're going to have a bunch of scientists on it and other very credible people that I think you're going to be very interested in coming and hearing. So to me, this is all.
I'd be interested in coming and presenting because, boy, I got a presentation on that level.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll send it to me.
I will.
Look, criticism is well taken. I appreciate it. I've had, other input from different people. it was a one-time event, and it's coming, it's past, and it's time to move on and get to the future.
Well, the bottom line is that you really stirred up a bit of a hornet's nest, and a little bit of controversy is not necessarily a bad thing. You filled a lot. I was very impressed with the turnout that you had, and I think the subject matter. Sometimes you have to jerk people out of their catharsis and their conservative viewpoints, possibly to get people to wake up and take notice and get involved. All it takes really is like a 73 wave to get a lot of people energized and jazzed about the subject again and get their minds off Trump and North Korea and these other pressing terrestrial issues. And I think things tend to contract a little bit when domestic and foreign issues get really intense, and then when things get a little bit more complacent and loosey-goosey and comfortable, then their minds start to wander a little bit.
We're going to continue with our discussions with Jan Harzan and get back, since we've dealt with the organizational issues, get back to the research and see where we're going. With Gene, Chris, and Jan, you're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails t-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast jumbo tote bag, all sorts of t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great t-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body Brain and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Most people think life insurance pays after you're dead. That's true. But did you know you can have tax-free access to your life insurance while you're still alive? You can use the life benefits of your life insurance to grow your money with certainty and guarantees. No stock market risk, no tax risk, and no penalties. Call Life Benefits if you'd like a free book about how this can be done. Call 702-660-7000. That's 702-660-7000.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Jan did one of our best ever, okay? You rank way up there with such people as Nick Redfern.
Nick Redfern, yeah. Nick's way up there.
We haven't figured out where yet. I think he's on Mars. There, let's continue here. Let's get back to the research. I think we've got Jan's views, and I know our listeners are going to be pro and con about it. We have forums at forum.theparacast.com where you can indicate whether you feel MUFON's on the right track to pursue, as they say, a wider outreach in their conference, to try something, and some of the organizational issues we dealt with. Let's have your opinion about those things, and we know what's going to happen. I'll tell you something, Jan. We had on the show, 4 years ago now, Dr. David Jacobs. And he came out with one of his books about possible alien-human hybrids and hybrids and everything like that. So he had a problem, obviously, with the UFO abductee who was attacking him and his credibility and everything. And I've never seen such a polarized reaction to his show. And some said we were too kind to him. He said Chris was badgering him, Dr. Jacobs, towards the end of the show. And it's like people heard what they wanted to hear, and we were trying to be very balanced about the subject because there are people who have different viewpoints about abductions. And I think Chris and I regard the views of Dr. Jacobs as more very extreme in one end, that, you know, we're being taken over. And if we are being taken over, it doesn't matter. It's too late for us anyway. So, I mean, if you can believe the sort of silent invasion that's implied by this theory, well, all that means here is that there's probably no hope for humanity, which may be something we already can agree upon with all the crazy things that have been happening in recent years. But what this signifies is that these beings will one day take us over, or we will live and die and never know about the level of their control. Have I made you paranoid enough, listeners? Why worry about it? What me worry, like they say in Mad Magazine. But the point here is that you could see how polarized that was. Thousands of messages in our forums.
Oh, yeah. It blew up.
There are people who still hate me for viewpoints I don't even have.
Or to even people that hate you for even having Jacobs on the show.
It's right, exactly. And we've had some pretty controversial people. I didn't think he'd be one of them. But we had Michael Horn on a couple of times early in the history of the Paracast. We've had quite a few people that have viewpoints that a lot of us would not even accept. But we gave them their say, and then we told them what we thought. We had one guest who had a history of supposedly repurposing copyrighted material, and he made all sorts of claims about being quoted in newspapers, and when we tried to confirm it after about a half hour or an hour on the show, he hung up on us. A guy named Bill Nell. Anyone remember him?
Oh, yeah. Good old Bill Nell. I'm sure he'll show up again out of the ethers. Our latest vampire will show up from the deep, damp earth.
So you can see where things get pretty polarized in this field. And even with the best of intentions, presenting someone that we know has something screwy to say, they're going to attack us. And therefore, in this field, it's hard sometimes to balance it, and we don't. Here in the Paracast, we could be very unpolitically correct, which is part of our reputation. We have this second show, as our listeners know, called After the Paracast, where we don't even have restrictions on language.
Yeah, oh boy. Yeah, I have fun sometimes, Jan. Sometimes.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah, sometimes I try to keep it, reasonable and kind of a nice decorum, but sometimes it gets rather carried away, and that's fun. It's entertainment.
Well, how long have we known each other, Chris? We've known each other for years, right? I mean,
20. Let's see. I first spoke there in 98, so 19 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
a long time.
And the connection we had was my wife, her parents both grew up in the San Luis Valley.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they met there.
And Alejandro Rojas, another one. He grew up in the San Luis Valley.
Really? Well, I didn't know that about him.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He still has relatives there. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We do too.
Yeah. Jay Widener, who I've known kind of sort of a loose associateship, if you will, over the years. I'm talking to Jay one day, and he says, he mentions his house in the San Luis Valley. I said, well, wait a minute, I didn't know you lived there. He goes, oh, yeah, I've had property there for quite a while, and I've got a house there and everything. And Robert Hastings moved to Villa Grove in the San Luis Valley.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I guess my work has had the real estate agents around Crestone really liked me in the late 90s.
I'll bet.
Because when those books came out, boy, everybody was coming in. And, of course, they never told me that I was, an unofficial bird dog for them. But it's a wonderful place, and I'm still considering, ways to try to get people to follow through with their promises on getting this camera project going up there. I think I'm just going to have to move there for 6 months and do it all myself or something. It's just, I'm just beating my head against a brick wall. We're going to have to come up with a budget and put these people under contract to do things. I'm beside myself trying to figure out how to do it. We almost get there so many times, and then the weather, the cold kicks in. And if you don't get it done by November, you're sunk. And it's just, I'm just so tired of this. We've had so many great events that we would have been able to get real scientific data from these events because it was right in our front row seat. The camera project would have had, and it's just really extremely frustrating because I do really think that hotspot areas, it's my mantra. Hotspot areas are where we should be concentrating our resources, our hardware, our expertise, our talent,
our instrumentation. Absolutely.
Yeah, all the above, and especially instrumentation. And once we get to a position where we have 4 different types of monitoring, sets of monitoring information, you can write a scientific paper in any one of several disciplines, and that's going to be very, very difficult for academia and the scientific community to ignore. They'll try, but it's going to be difficult.
Well, but I think that's what's going to help create some breakthroughs in this thing. We had a case recently in the last year or so where the individual was able to get on videotape the pulsing from the engines of the craft, and through that determined that the particular craft that was seen in this particular case, had counter-rotating electromagnets being pulsed at 123 hertz. Now, I've talked to physicists about that. They all kind of scoff at it, but somebody's able to levitate these craft without having any other visible means of propulsion other than some kind of a field propulsion system. So that's where the breakthroughs will come from. And from a scientific standpoint, there's other people out there who could care less about how the craft work, and they want to study the human side of things or the sociological side of things. Who are these beings? Why are they here? How are we going to interact with them? Are we able to interact?
And that's all relevant. It's all relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
But scientists and academics are going to. This is the one thing that you have to prove is a reality, or there's something that exists before they will show an interest. If somebody came up with a 5% chance that they've come up with a cure of cancer, billions of dollars would be allocated to that. If there was a 5% chance that 5% of UFO sightings are true unknowns and worthy of study, we have to prove that to be the case before we can get any sort of acceptance from the mainstream.
Here's something else we have to prove, and we'll know about in just a moment with Gene, Chris, and Jan Harzan. You're in
the Paracast.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors, classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Do you have difficulty taking supplements? Are you searching for a high-quality, complete nutritional drink that your whole family will love? NutriMedical's Life Support has arrived. All of your daily nutritional requirements in one quick, delicious drink. Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support is a proprietary blend of vegan protein, activated vitamins, essential minerals, amino acids, probiotics, green tea, digestive enzymes, anti-inflammatories, cancer prevention, detoxification, and much more. Your body will high-five you for this one. Life Support is the best complete nutritious meal replacement on the market. Whether you are an elite athlete, have post-operative challenges, chronic illness, elderly, or a family that just wants a quick, delicious drink, try Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support for optimized nutrition in one great tasting smoothie. Just add cold water, almond milk, fruit, or anything else you like. NutriMedical's Life Support. Try our great tasting chocolate or vanilla today. Call 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com. NutriMedical.com for the whole family.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
How did you become addicted? A friend? Were you at a party and someone said, "Hey, try this"? Then you got the cold sweats and started shaking. And the more you did it, the more it didn't work. So you switched to the needle. Now you're a train wreck. Drinking, drugging, broke. Your family hates you, and you hate you. Get out of your hell on earth now. Call the Detox and Treatment Helpline today for immediate help. In many cases, your insurance may cover the costs. We can't guarantee it, but we can guarantee we have what you need to change your life for the better. Pick up your cell phone and call right now. 855-700-2979. 855-700-2979. 855-700-2979. That's 855-700-2979.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
All right, let's go back again to the research that we're covering here. And Chris is talking, of course, about the work on the San Luis Valley Camera Project. But before we go on, Chris, as of today, we haven't heard from the other projects, UFO Data and any of the other ones that were supposed to set up monitoring facilities. Have we?
No news on the UFO Data front. I haven't heard really hide nor hair from Mark D'Antonio or Douglas Trumbull about where they're at with UFOTOG. Of course, we have Hasdellen that's still chugging along and has been for 30 plus years. I haven't heard of any real new developments on that particular front. Again, as Jan pointed out earlier, we are at a point in history and in the development curve, in technological development curve, that we have access, and there's gear out there that's affordable that we can use and utilize as long as well-trained individuals, dedicated to monitoring this equipment. We have the ability, and we've ID'd, I think, the spots where this gear could be set up, and with some due diligence and people tasked with, obviously doing the work properly. I think that this is the obvious step forward, and I know Jan agrees, because MUFON has been very, very supportive, enthusiastically supportive, and one very a wonderful, dedicated member of MUFON there in California, has been extremely instrumental in all the progress that we've been able to make with our project. And, we now have workable detect motion, record on motion, and triangulate to motion is now the project that Ron Ulrich is now engaged in, allowing multiple cameras to be involved in a tracking program. But we do have the software now, and it's been developed from the ground up, and it's very, very exciting and extremely frustrating that it's not operational.
Well, and that's a good point, because Ron is just an incredible engineer.
I'll say
came out of the industry, and as you know from Wayne Hollaback and the days when you were involved with helping put that together, the big problem we had was being able to track these objects across the sky with a camera. And Ron solved that problem with some software that he had personally written. And I was able to meet with Ron not too long ago, and we actually got him some funding to put one of these cameras, a test camera, in a location. And if we can get this to work, we may be able to get this funding to do it in other locations. So, but probably just start simple. Start in one location. There's no better location that I know of than the San Luis Valley to start monitoring, because from what my wife's relatives tell me, they're seeing stuff all the time out there.
It's commonplace, and it's so common that it's part of their reality, and people don't think it's a big deal there. It just still blows my mind.
Yeah.
I use the example of the farmer that grabbed me in the supermarket and said, "Chris, I'm glad I ran into you. Man, I meant to call you, but I know you're busy. I didn't want to bug you, but you should have seen the thing that landed in my back 40. And I'm like, what? And you didn't call me because of why? Oh, I know you're busy. I know you got so much going on, and I figured I'd run into you at some point. And it was like, because it landed in his back 40, it was a big deal. But when stuff flies by, people go, oh, there's another one.
You're right. They are very nonchalant. It's like, it's normal to have a flying saucer sitting on the roadway blocking your way.
When you tell that to people, Jam, they look at you like, what are you, nuts? Get out of here. They think you're just making this stuff up. But I'm telling you, it's go ahead, move there for a while. Spend 6 months.
Well, you remember when John Schuessler was the executive director.
Of course, he was one of my first fans.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when he used to run all the symposiums up in Denver back in the day, and so I got to travel there quite a bit. And when we would go up there, we would have these family reunions from on my wife's side of the family, and we'd go sit with 25, 30 people, and they would find oh, you're here for a UFO conference. Well, let me tell you my story. I mean, literally, every one of them had their own UFO story.
Oh yeah.
I can remember her aunt saying, yeah, I was driving down the road one day, and all of a sudden there was this 100-foot saucer sitting on the roadway blocking me. I had to sit and wait till it left so I could continue on. I'm thinking, could you imagine that? It's like, really? Okay.
Imagine if that happened in freaking Costa Mesa, man.
Well, you just say, well, where was your camera, man? We need a camera in this picture. Yeah. So.
Well, that's what's good about the cell phone, technology now. Whatever the control mechanism that's behind these craft, they're keeping them a little further away from people now, because they know darn well if they get closer, someone's going to get a really good shot at some point, and it's inevitable. It's going to happen, I think.
I had kind of a theory here, which is you have this collection of UFO photos and movies, a lot of them on YouTube. And I'm kind of wondering here, because it's so easy to fake a photo these days, we have all the tools. We have smartphone cameras with 4K capability. And I'm thinking here, you know what? Some of those could be real, and they'd be there in plain sight, and you wouldn't recognize them because you're so overwhelmed with the fakes.
That's why someone like Ray Stanford is absolutely crucial, because he can look and find the little red flags that he knows are there that can instantly determine whether a photograph or a section of footage is real or not. And I really, really suggest, Jan, before we lose Ray, to get him speaking at MUFON. He is ready to go. I mean, he's already been presenting to scientists at Goddard, and he's about ready to pop right now. He's currently being featured in this month's National Geographic for his hobby, which is his dinosaur track work.
Right.
I mean, How many people have you had at MUFON that have been in National Geographic?
Look, I know Ray very well, and he's an outstanding investigator from many years ago and currently still doing investigations. I've actually invited him to speak, so I'd love to have him come talk.
Put the invitation through me this time instead of from a woman who made it sound like it was a local chapter of MUFON. And Ray's, he doesn't get out enough, and he needs help, and that's why I do urge any sort of communication, official communication about gigs and that sort of thing to go through either myself or Ben and Tony. Yeah. Because Ray, he's just not used to it. He's so wrapped up in his analytical work and his other work. And plus he's been having health issues. So,
right.
He's getting up there. He's in his early 80s now. So we really need to jump on this. And supposedly I'm going to be going out there and videotaping all his presentations for posterity to get all this information down in case he checks off this mortal coil. But it would be great to get him to present at the next MUFON symposium because it's right down his alley. It's something that he would be, I think, tag teaming with Ben Moss and Tony Angioli. I think we could actually twist his arm enough to get him to present. And he's been fine tuning his presentations now so that they're in manageable chunks.
Okay, well let's talk about it. I'm wide open for that.
Yeah, because boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that know about Ray, and he put some butts in the seat. He would.
Yeah, no, he's great. I've read his books and I have great respect for Ray.
By the way, I did look him up online. It claims he's 79, but 79 is a new 60, so we shouldn't worry about that. We've got Jan Harzan and Chris O'Brien and Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to goberkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. goberkey.com.
Frustrated trying to get business capital? Want to take the slow process and rejection out of the equation? GCNloans.com removes the slow, irritating approval process. Instead, get quick, simple funding. Powered by David Allen Capital, 80% of our pre-qualified clients are approved in days. Pre-qualify at GCNloans.com and get your money this week. It's that easy. GCNloans.com. That's GCNloans.com.
Message and data rates may apply.
Oh my gosh, that's Frank Thomas.
No.
Yes, that's him. Go ahead. Excuse me, are you Frank Thomas?
Yes, I am.
I bet you get recognized a lot.
I was a pretty good ball player.
You were?
Some people thought so.
Sorry, we recognize you from those Nugenics commercials.
Oh, yeah? That's great.
So does Nugenics really work?
Oh, yeah. I really can feel the difference. My workouts are better, and I feel a lot more energetic.
I wish my husband would use Nugenics.
It's so easy to get started. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Text the word PRIME44 to 42424 for a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And you're going to like the difference, too.
Text PRIME44 to 42424 for a complimentary bottle of Nugenics. Samples are not available in stores. Text PRIME44 to 42424.
Attention type 2 diabetics. If you or a loved one has taken Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR or other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes and suffered amputation of the toes, feet, or legs, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA has warned that Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR and other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes cause an increased role in amputations of the toes, feet, and legs. If you or a loved one has taken Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR or other inhibitors inhibitors for type 2 diabetes and suffered amputation of the toes, feet, or legs, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-475-7607. That's 800-475-7607. Again, 800-475-7607. Call now. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. www.injuryhelpdesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada. Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business. So make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gray Alien Report, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So maybe here we get Ray back on the Paracast. We could, encourage him to do something.
Yeah. Well, he operates, I think, influencing Ray, and it's a process. You can't just, kind of like put him on the spot publicly and say, Ray, you got to do this, because then he recoils. Knowing Ray as well as I do, and I've known him for quite a number of years now, and I've got his entire, UFO life history all written down, unpublished, and it's going to be sitting there gathering dust until he gives me permission to publish it, which I can't wait to do. But there is a way to work with Ray and get him enthusiastically involved in a process, as opposed to, kind of putting him on the spot. He doesn't respond well to that. So,
yeah, I've spent many hours speaking with him on the phone, and you have to be very careful with him. So, but that said, I mean, he does some great information. I mean, my gosh, he was right on the ground floor of the Lonnie Samora case.
Right.
So
I'll say
64 or whatever happened, and just a phenomenal researcher. We'll lose a good one when he goes, but
yeah. Well, to have Kevin Randall acknowledge the really good job that he did on Socorro. I mean, Kevin doesn't really give compliments out very. They're few and far between, and he did say that Ray did a really good job on that case, being a fairly young guy at the time. I mean, he was only in his 20s, so
right.
Yeah, and I do think that the theme of this coming symposium, where's it going to be this year, by the way?
Well, in 2018, it'll be in Philadelphia. I'm almost thinking he'd be better on our 50th anniversary one in 2019, which will probably be back in Los Angeles.
Well, then you have the whole thing of travel. See, he could do Philly easy because it's a hop, skip, and a jump for him. He's very, very reluctant to fly now. So that would be something to factor in there.
There's Amtrak.
That's true.
Just teasing.
We could stick him on a tramp steamer through the Panama Canal.
We actually do have one of our members who won't fly, so they take the train everywhere. So yeah. I think that's like
Amtrak to Philadelphia is a pretty easy trick.
Ray would drive. I mean, come on, it's only a 2.5 hour drive for Ray from Berwyn Heights. I mean, come on, Philly's just up 95.
Look, I'm open, so we should discuss that.
Very good, very good. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I'm glad we're saying the schedule. I want to talk to you about this, Jan. As we see, Kevin Randall is doing something which I think is very commendable, which is to go back and look at older UFO cases and try to re-examine the evidence and see where things lie. So he came out with this book, Roswell in the 21st Century, where with the Roswell case, some of the things about it were not as certain as before, that he still feels something weird happened, but things like possible alien bodies, not so certain anymore about that because the evidence is just not there. He went back, of course, to Socorro, and he came out with a lot of solid information, basically enhancing what we know about the case and also demolishing some of the skeptics who have tried to find ways to disprove it, especially pointing out that the head of Project Blue Book at the time made an extraordinary effort to disprove that case and tried to look for possible test aircraft, everything. Could not do it. Really tried.
And also, statements that Hynek made that was the first time that he really started to see a reversal in his thinking, was the 65 Socorro case.
Exactly. It was one of those compelling cases. And that's an interesting thing here we could think about with MUFON. We have one guy, Kevin Randall, going through all these old cases. Do you have the personnel to do something like that? Go through the most important cases of yesteryear, give them a second look, and see where they fit with the overall picture?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was just on the phone with Roger Marsh yesterday, and we were talking about our January issue for the MUFON Journal. Now, this is not to the level you're talking, but one of the things we wanted to do was, take the top 10 cases of all time and feature them in the journal, because there's so many great cases back there.
Wow. That would be rough. That'd be tough to do.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you do that in 24 pages, but
just to determine what those cases are is what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know. You could probably come up with the first 5 or 6, and after that, you'd really have
then it would be really up to personal opinion, I guess.
Well, exactly. Like that, then you get people arguing about, was that the right 10? Your question, Gene, is go back and look at these things. The answer is absolutely we could. You need to put together a team of people, or maybe multiple teams of people, and give them each a case to go work on. Problem with a lot of these older cases is that the evidence is so old or no longer can be found that you have a hard time digging into it. So one thing I've found about the UFO field is it's easy to discredit cases because it's just so strange what you see and what you hear. And people all want that physical piece of the craft or whatever it is. And even when people bring the physical piece of the craft, they still challenge it and say it's not so. So it's kind of the sign of the times. Is there a particular case you think we should go look at or go dig into?
I think any case that's considered an unknown, that's gotten a lot of attention, deserves a second look.
My 3 favorite cases, obviously Roswell's off top of everybody's list, but I thought Stan Friedman did a great job back 20, 30 years ago when he put together the movie Recollections of Roswell. I think it was him. The voice is on the tape, sounds like Stan's voice. And he interviewed 30 first-hand and second-hand witnesses, the children of the people who saw it and also the people who saw it. It was a pretty compelling case that something significant had happened down there. The other one I like is the ICBM, cases where military people in the bunkers who were hands on the controls to launch the missiles actually watched them go offline as the security people upstairs were telling them that there was craft over the base. That is extremely significant and documented in Air Force documents. So,
right, and we have cases as recently, I think, as 2009 or 10.
Yes. Yeah, this stuff continues to happen. So there's somebody who's not happy with how we're playing with nuclear weapons, pointing them at each other, trying to blow each other up. I was wondering if North Korea ever launched an attack against the United States, who would knock the missile out of the sky first? Us or the?
I don't think if we are being visited by space visitors, though, that they even care. Maybe with nuclear weapons they might, but you have so many thousands of people dying around the world for one thing or another, and they're not doing anything about it.
Well, in their eyes, it may not be necessarily a bad thing because, we are the most detrimental force on this planet.
Right.
And what may be of interest to the visitors, if that's what they are, is the amazing biodiversity and the wonderful web of life that we have here that we are putting in jeopardy with our very, progress.
But go back to the beginning of this broadcast where we were talking about the possibility that maybe these things are actually from here. They're not from out there. They're from here. And if this is actually their domain, and we're messing it up by blowing off nuclear weapons. Maybe that's not something they want to have happen. Who knows? I mean, who knows what the answer is? But it's interesting to think about and to know that this actually happened, because my understanding from talking to one of these individuals who was in that control room, 60 feet under the ground, but between 4 layers of concrete and steel, was that when an inquiry happened, because the general was upset that the missiles all went offline, that they didn't like the report that came back from Boeing, and they destroyed the report. Because essentially the report said we can find nothing wrong with the systems here that would have caused them to go offline. So some external force, such as this thing that was seen, had to have been what affected it. Well, they didn't want to hear that. That wasn't what they wanted to hear. They wanted to hear that somebody had made a mistake, switched a switch wrong or whatever, and turned these missiles off, But
let's do our break. Final segment with Jan Harzan with Gina and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
As you know, neighbors, web hosting can be pretty cheap, but not all hosting is the same. DreamHost wins Best of Awards year after year. You get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, and even the low-cost plans put your sites on high-performance SSDs. Want to know more about what DreamHost has to offer? Go to technightowl.com/host. Once again, that's technightowl.com/host.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA pack technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
This just in. Before your doctor gives you another antibiotic prescription that you don't want, get this free report, The Miracle of Garlic, your first home medicine. This free report is filled with easy kitchen remedies for common colds, flus, sore throats, ear infections, and more. Plus, learn to boost your immunity before you get sick. Go now to GCNwellness.com, just like it sounds, GCNwellness.com to get your free report, The Miracle of Garlic. Click GCNwellness.com.
Most people think life insurance pays after you're dead. That's true. But did you know you can have tax-free access to your life insurance while you're still alive? You can use the life benefits of your life insurance to grow your money with certainty and guarantees. No stock market risk, no tax risk, and no penalties. Call Life Benefits if you'd like a free book about how this can be done. Call 702-660-7000. That's 702-660-7000.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light Systems system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
The answer to being in control of your own healthcare is freedom from insurance. Become part of a group of self-pay patients that come together to share in each other's medical expenses. Individual share amounts begin at $107 a month and $347 for families. Choose from 3 health sharing programs. Holistic treatments may be eligible for sharing. See guidelines. Discount programs available for dental, vision, and pharmacy. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
This is Robert Hastings, author of UFOs and Nukes, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Speaking of old cases to look at, not so old cases, Rendlesham.
Yes.
And I think partly in light of the issues with Larry Warren and his credibility. That's certainly one thing. And by the way, we've been in touch with a fellow named Andrew Pike, astrophysicist from the UK, who's written a new book with a new look on Rendlesham. Interesting new book that we're looking into, and he'll probably be on the next week or 2. So it's important to take a new look even at that case. What's your take on all this, Jan?
Well, I try not to get mired in the fighting that goes on within that whole subject. I think Rendlesham is probably in my top 5 cases. I think there's enough data there and government papers that say this event really happened, and the recordings that exist of the going out into the forest and seeing the object, that it's certainly worthy of further investigation. And this goes back to what we've known for years, which is that these craft are seen around military installations, nuclear power plants, and places where anti-gravity research is being done. And this is right up that alley. Many of our cases come to us through military channels. People who are in the military, a lot of times going through war exercises, and they'll see objects in the sky above the simulated battlefield, if you will. But as far as Bentwaters, I think it's definitely a case that could be looked into further and more in depth. Just as an aside, I had someone reach out to me and ask me if I could provide them with a video of that incident. And I looked long and hard, and there's not a lot of good people doing documentaries on that case. I think it could use a good documentary, my own feeling, much along the lines of what Stan did with this Recollections of Roswell piece, that I think is just an outstanding piece of evidence that people can listen to and understand that something very significant happened there.
There is a dispute over some of Stan's stuff, like MJ-12.
Well, yeah, no, that's true, but that didn't have anything to do with this. This was strictly, he went out to Roswell, and I don't know who all was part of that group when they did, and they interviewed the first-hand witnesses to the actual encounter. This is some 20, 30 years ago that they created this video, which is now a DVD.
Right, I saw the listing online, and I was going to ask you about that. What do you think about someone like Nick Redfern, who had this book, Body Snatchers in the Desert, and he specified it as something, an experiment gone wrong?
You know, I don't really know. I haven't read the book. I know Nick's into other areas besides UFOs. He's a great writer and a terrific friend of MUFON, and I don't have any comments specifically on that. I can't really say so. I do have one thing I could put out there, which is a postulation, which is I had the opportunity to go down to New Mexico and visit some of these sites, the Roswell site, the Socorro site, some of these other reports of craft crashing back in the mid-40s through the, through mid-60s. One of the things that struck me was it's all within close proximity, of course, to, Ground Zero, where the first nuclear bomb got set off, but also Los Alamos and all of the research laboratories down there, which back in the 40s had some of our top scientists, Warner von Braun, who was captured and brought over from Germany, Oppenheimer, Einstein, Teller. I mean, these guys were all down there working on these top secret projects one of the thoughts that struck me was, I wonder if a lot of these craft that crashed, and I'm just putting this out as a hypothesis, I mean, you'd have to do a lot more study in it, could have possibly been our own experiments on trying to back engineer these craft and get them to work, or maybe some kind of a time machine. Because the one case I'm thinking of where the craft all of a sudden appeared during an electrical storm and came flying out of the sky and crashed, and then little beings were seen on board the craft. But then the Army came in and said, this is a weather balloon, which is, I love that story. It's a weather balloon. It's a 30-foot saucer, hard metallic, but it's a weather balloon, and hauled it away. If maybe this was some of our own experimentation going on. It's just a thought. I don't know that that's the case or not the case, but it struck me that so many of these crashes and incidents happened all within a very small space, and all in New Mexico, where we happened to just be doing all these top secret things at the time, including building the atomic bomb and the hydrogen bomb. Could it have been possibly something that these brilliant folks, the Tellers, the Oppenheimers, the Einsteins, the Warner and Brons, that they maybe were conjuring up as part of their experimentation, bringing some of this maybe technology even over from Germany as Germany collapsed? I'm not saying it. I'm just saying it's a possibility that someone should probably look into.
Well, Ron Regehr, I mean, I must interject here. His presentation about the actual wreckage in the General Ramey photos is really compelling, because he makes a really good case that none of that wreckage really conforms with any parts list from any sort of balloon systems that were operational at the time. And instead of seeing a lot of string, which is what you would obviously see with a balloon train, there's not one strand of string, which would be probably the most prominent piece of evidence that would be left behind with some sort of mogul balloon crash, or the radiosonde balloon trains that they were using back then in the late 40s. And then he also points out that there are some very, very interesting symbols on some of these kind of I-beam looking pieces that are in the wreckage. I've also asked him to publish on social media his taking of the 4 and 5 different efforts to decipher the Ramey memo, and showing all the areas in which each of the independent groups of analysts all agree on wording. So when people say, oh, you can't read anything, it's beyond, the point of resolution and all that, I disagree, because, for instance, Fort Worth, Texas, everybody agrees that that's what it says. Victims of the crash is another one that several of the groups all came up with, all independent of one another.
By the way, I just wanted to mention here, when we had Kevin Randall on for after the Paracast, we talked about this a little bit. And he said victims is not at all a certain conclusion.
I need to get Ron to go ahead and publish his he had this one image that shows everybody's different version of what they were able to glean from that. And then he comes up with a composite one that shows where everybody agrees. And it would be interesting for folks to see that, because quite a lot of very, very, I think, talented photographic analysis has already been brought to bear on that memo. And a lot of people don't realize that there's been several efforts, independent of one another, that have attempted to do that. And Ron is the only person I've seen that's attempted to put all that together and show commonalities. And I think that's an area of reviewing a case, going back to a case, as we were discussing. This is one of those types of an example of that type of effort that we may be able to do with other cases, especially more recent cases like Rendlesham, where there's quite a number of people that are still around that could have interesting information that maybe was taken out of context or not really reviewed properly. And Jan, you're right. When you think about it, there is very little footage from that time period at Rendlesham that has been made publicly available, and there's got to be more.
Well, and I was also thinking just all the researchers who've touched this case, Linda Moulton Howe and others, you would think there'd be a documentary on. I thought there was. I went looking for it, and I couldn't find it. It just seems like such a good case, with very credible witnesses on a military base with documentation. You would think that we have something.
Jan Harzan, please tell our listeners where we can find more of the stuff that you do.
You can find it on MUFON.com, our website, or call us here at MUFON headquarters, 949-476-8366. We'd love to have you on board.
You can also find us on Twitter. If you look for the Paracast, look for the Paracast on Twitter. Look for 2 official, can there be any other kind, Paracast fan clubs on Facebook. One is a community, one is a group, and you can decide which one you like. Pick your own poison, as some might say. We have a second radio show. That enhances the Paracast. It's called After the Paracast. It can be color commentary. It could be extended interviews like we've done with Paul Kimball and John B. Alexander and Micah Hanks and Kevin Randall and others. It can be also really special interviews like Monty Shriver, someone who lived in Aztec, New Mexico in 1948 and can assert that nothing happened there. No UFO crash occurred. All this and more if you subscribe to the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. We have low subscription rates. Check it out. Jan Harzan, thank you for joining us on the Paracast.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.